أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Respected elders, honored congregation, أحييكم بتحية الإسلام. I greet you with the universal greeting of peace, love and mercy, and I say assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. All praise and thanks is due to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our creator, our cherisher, our nourisher and the sustainer of all the worlds. Peace and blessings on our beloved Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, upon his family, his friends and all those who perpetuate with his propagation until the last day. Alhamdulillahi thumma alhamdulillah. All praise and thanks is due to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is ghafir al-dhanb. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who forgives sins. However, Allah ta'ala is not only ghafir al-dhanb, nor is Allah only ghafoor, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ghaffar. What that means, Jama'at Muslimin, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives, and Allah ta'ala will continue forgiving. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will continue forgiving as much as we, وَخُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا. Allah ta'ala created us weak. And so we commit sins on a daily basis, but Allah ta'ala is ghaffar. Allah ta'ala is the one that continuously forgives. No matter how many times we transgress, we make mistakes. But when we return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we believe with yaqeen that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive. And this brings us to our topic today, insha'Allah ta'ala. Reconcile today, for tomorrow it may be too late. Imam Shafi rahimahullah, he says, من نال مني أو ألقت بذمته أبرأته لله شاكر منته. Imam Shafi, he says, whosoever wrongs me, whoever offends me, ألقت بذمته also means that whoever is indebted to me, أبرأته لله. He says, I absolve them of that offense for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, I forgive them purely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I forgive that person in gratitude of the favor, the ni'mah, the bounty, the boon that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed upon me. I forgive the person out of gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the ni'mah that Allah ta'ala has bestowed upon me, and therefore I am able to overlook the person's mistakes. Then he says, أَأَرَى مُؤَوِّقَ مُؤْمِنٍ يَوْمَ الْجَزَاءِ. أَأَرَى مُؤَوِّقَ مُؤْمِنٍ يَوْمَ الْجَزَاءِ. He says, the reason why I forgive is because I do not want to stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of Qiyamah to find out that someone's entry into Jannah is pending my forgiveness. I want us to just listen to the statement of Imam Shafi rahimahullah. He says, I don't want to stand before Allah on the day of Qiyamah only to find out that someone's entry into Jannah is pending my forgiveness, and therefore I forgive. Therefore I forgive. And just that last part, he says, أو أن أسوء محمدا في أمته. As if he is saying that, how can I not forgive? How am I going to stand before Allah Ta'ala on the day of Qiyamah, finding that there's someone's entry into Jannah is pending my forgiveness when I am standing before Al-Ghaffar? When I am standing in front of Al-Ghaffar, the one who is often forgiving, most forgiving. How is it possible that I cannot forgive if I worship an Allah who is Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim? How can I not find it in my heart to forgive if I worship Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, the one who is most merciful, and the one who is continuously merciful? And at the same time he says, Muhammadan fi ummatihi. How do I stand before Allah Ta'ala on the day of Qiyamah, having found out that someone's entry into Jannah is pending my forgiveness, if I am one of the ummatis, if I am of the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the one who taught us to forgive, the one who taught us to forgive. Jama'at Muslimin, there's an English saying that says, forgive the next person. Forgive the next person. He may not deserve the pardon, but you deserve the peace. Forgive the next person. He may not deserve the pardon, but you deserve the peace. A person who musters the courage to forgive and forgive on a daily basis, he sleeps peacefully at night. However, the one who harbors hatred and anger, he tosses and turns and cannot sleep. Forgive the next person. Forgive, because I do not want to hold it in my heart. Whatever the person has done, I do not want to carry that weight around. And the example is that if I hold a glass, I'm using a glass, you can use a cell phone as an example as well. But if I hold a glass in my hand, I will not feel its weight immediately. However, the longer I hold the glass, the heavier it gets. The longer I hold the glass, the heavier it gets. The weight of the glass did not change, but rather the duration of holding the glass caused the glass to feel heavy. So don't carry around whatever anger I may have towards another person for whatever they have done. For whatever they have done, do not carry it around. Free your heart. Free your heart. There's an example that literally just came to mind. It literally just came to mind, and I need to mention this example. One day, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was sitting in the masjid with some of the Sahaba, And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam made a statement. He says, there's a man about to enter. There's a man about to enter who is of Ahlul Jannah. There's a man about to enter and he is from Ahlul Jannah. And the Sahaba being, and very, very quickly, because I'm adding the story, this it's a long story, I'm going to shorten it I'm going to shorten it inshallah ta'ala. He says, there's a man about to enter, he's of the Ahlul Jannah. And so this person enters, and the Sahaba looks at him. The person performs salah, and they see he performs salah exactly the same way that they perform salah. And they were very curious. The moment Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made a statement, they were very curious. And I mean, this is a great statement. He's of Ahlul Jannah. So they wanted to find out what makes this person so special. And a man goes to this person's home. Long story short, he remains with this person for 3 days. And he sees, but this person eats the way we eat. He makes salah the way we make salah. Everything that we do, he does. What makes him so special? And before the Sahaba left, he asked him, he says, before you entered the masjid, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that you are of the Ahlul Jannah. What makes you so special? And he says, but I cannot think of, I don't understand what I'm exactly the same as all of you. And a few moments later he says, but there's one thing that I can think of. I don't know if it is that, but there's one thing that I can think of. He says, before I go and sleep at night, I remove any enmity, any animosity that I may have for the next person, I remove it from my heart. Whoever has harmed me, whoever has done something to me, whoever owes me, I forgive that person. Before I go sleep at night, I forgive that person. The person may have a reason for doing or saying what he did. Sometimes we are offended by someone. We are angry for someone, for something that they may have done or may have said, not actually knowing the actual reason behind them saying that or doing that. And another long story, I'm going to try to shorten it insha'Allah ta'ala, is a Sahaba. He says, while they were sitting in the masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and amongst them was Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As. He says they were sitting, and Hussein radiallahu anh, Hussein ibn Ali, the grandson of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Hussein passed by. And as he passed by, he said, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And he says, all of us responded. All of us responded, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, except one person, Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As. Abdullah ibn Amr. Abdullah ibn Amr, he remained silent. And once Hussein radiallahu an passed, Amr ibn al-As, he responded. And he said, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And Amr further said to them, he says, do you not wish that I inform you who is the most beloved of the people of Allah? In fact, the English translation does not give justice to the Arabic. It says, do you not wish that I inform you that who is the most beloved by Allah Ta'ala of everything in the heavens and the earth? Do you not wish that I inform you of everything in the heavens and the earth? Who and what is most beloved to Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala? And they responded, they say, yes. And he says, it is this person who had passed. this person who just passed by now is more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than everything in the heavens and the earth put together. But he says, فَوَاللَّهِ مَا كَلَّمَنِي وَلَا كَلَّمْتُهُ مُنذُ صِفِّينَ. He says, however, I have not spoken to him, nor has he spoken to me since the day of Siffin. Now Siffin, it was a sad day in the history of the Muslims. It was the day, before Siffin, it was the Muslims against the Quraysh, the Muslims against the Kuffar. But the battle of Siffin was a battle between Muslims. Muslims against Muslims. Let me rephrase that. It was a battle between Sahaba. It was Sahaba against Sahaba, radiyallahu anhum ajma'in. The Sahaba were human, they made mistakes. Things were misread, messages were misread, and that is how the battle of Siffin took place. However, Abdullah ibn Amr, he says, since that particular day of Siffin, مَا كَلَّمَنِي وَلَا كَلَّمْتُهُ. I never spoke to him, nor has he spoken to me. However, I have a desire and a wish. He said, it will bring me much joy if one of you could attempt to bring some sort of reconciliation between us. It will bring me much joy if one of you could bring some sort of reconciliation amongst us. Abu Sa'd radiallahu anhu, he immediately gets up and he says, now let's go now. Let's not wait. Let's go now, immediately. There is a lesson for each and every one of us. Within our families, there may be brothers and sisters who are not speaking to each other. There may be cousins who are angry for each other for small little things. And it's upon us as family. Instead of placing fuel in that fire, and this is what we normally do. So we choose sides. We choose sides. No, I'm going to side with that brother because, for whatever reason. So now my entire family, my side of the family, we're all going to stick with that particular brother. Instead of me going and saying, listen, you are brothers. Let's try to bring some sort of reconciliation amongst you. Do we know that there's the only time a Muslim is allowed to lie? We know lying in Islam is not allowed. But the only time there are 2 or 3 times when a Muslim is allowed, I'll mention 2. When a Muslim is allowed to lie. The one is the husband towards the wife. And let me explain this, please. Allow me to explain this. I'm not saying that it's that the husband can continuously lie to their wives. What this means is that it sounds beter in Afrikaans. As ek kos miskien 'n bietjie te veel sout in het. There's a bit too much salt in the food, and the food tastes salty. Then we are allowed, Tawfiq, we are allowed to then say, this food tastes so wonderful, mashallah. I've never ever tasted a better pot of biryani. Mintavi die biryani is gevaarlik so terug. But, or the wife maybe asks the husband, do I look fat in this dress? Please lie. Don't, Allah Ta'ala grant us understanding, inshaAllah Ta'ala. The other occasion a Muslim is allowed to lie is in trying to bring reconciliation amongst people, amongst brothers, amongst sisters, amongst family members, amongst friends. I have that loophole, for lack of a better term, to go and say, my brother, you know what your brother said about you? He said, you're this amazing person. You have a good heart, mashallah. You know what your brother said about you? He says that, you are very forgiving, and, just to bring that reconciliation amongst people. That is important. Don't choose sides. Don't throw fuel on the fire. But be the person that can bring reconciliation amongst people. Be different to shaitan. Iblis, he has his workers. And they would come at the end of every day, they would come and report what they have achieved for today. And every one of them are hoping to be recognized by Iblis, who's the head of them. So everyone will come, okay, I got this person to do this, and I got that person to do that, etc., etc., etc. And the one that will actually be recognized is the one that comes before Iblis and says that today I was able to separate two people. Today I was able to bring a separation between two people. So let us be the opposite. Let us be different to Iblis, and let us be the cause that brings about reconciliation. Let me continue. So he says, come, let's go now. Let's not wait, not tomorrow. Tomorrow it may be too late. Don't put it out for tomorrow. I'll wait for tomorrow. Okay, inshallah, I find it in my heart to forgive, so I'll go tomorrow. Don't wait for tomorrow. Tomorrow that person may not be alive. Go today. Go right now. And so they go to Hussein. They seek permission to enter, and he grants them the permission to enter. Hussein is sitting down, radiallahu an. And Abu Sa'd sits, and he makes a space for Abdullah ibn Amr to sit. And as he does this, Hussein pulls him closer. And Abdullah ibn Amr, he remains standing. And after a while, Hussein radiallahu anhu, he makes that space for Amr, and Amr sits between the two of them. We can imagine the tense at that moment in time. Here are two brothers in Islam, two Sahaba. They love each other, but because of a particular happening, they haven't spoken to each other. So we can imagine how tense the situation must have been. No one knows what to do, what to say, how to sit. And Abu Sa'd makes a suggestion. He says to Abdullah, he says, why don't you inform him of what you had told us? Why don't you tell Hussein what you have told us? And then he says, yes, I can do that. And he says that the most beloved to Allah Ta'ala of everything in the heavens and the earth, the most beloved to Allah Ta'ala is who? Is Hussein. And Hussein radiallahu an, he gets up and he looks at Abdullah and he says, if that is the case, if that is what you believe, that I am more beloved to Allah Ta'ala than everything in the heavens and the earth, then why is it that you stood against me and my father at Siffin? Why is it that you stood against me and my father at Siffin? And it's a very long story. My time is up, so I need to shorten the story. But Abdullah ibn Amr, he says, one day my father, Amr, he went to complain about me to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And when we go to the Imam or the Sheikh and we say, please speak to my son. He doesn't want to listen. He's continuously on his phone. Right? He's just about the phone, and if it's load shedding, he literally dies, etc., etc. My son is smiling, and because he knows what I'm speaking about. But Amr ibn al-As, he goes to the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says, Ya Rasulullah, speak to Abdullah, speak to my son. He's continuously in salah. He spends his night in salah and he spends his days fasting. Look at the complaint, Ya Allah. This is the father going to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam saying that his son, he spends the entire day in salah, in siyam, and the entire night in salah. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam calls Abdullah and he says to him, my son, have moderation within your life. Fast and break your fast. Fast one day and eat one day. They say in Cape Town, they say, there's a tet for alles. There's a time for everything. There is a time for enjoyment as well. He says, and the last thing that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told me, and this stuck with me, وَأَطِعْ أَمْرًا. And he says, be obedient to your father Amr. Be obedient to your father Amr. He says, so on the day of Siffin, I had no desire to enter the battle. I had no desire to partake in the battle. I did not want to. But my father came to me. My father came to me and commanded me to partake. He says, and at that moment, the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. At that moment, the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam stuck with me. That I need to obey my father, and it's for that reason and that reason only that I went. He says, however, I did not draw my sword. I may have been there on that day of Siffin. I did not draw my sword, nor did I strike anyone, nor did I shoot an arrow. He says, I may have been there, but I was only there because my father commanded me to be there. And I obeyed the command of my father because Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told me, وَأَطِعْ أَمْرًا, to obey him. That is the only reason. With the result, they hugged each other and they forgave each other. The point is of this particular story, sometimes we do not know the reason behind someone doing something or saying something. Then we remain angry for each other for years, for 20, 30, 40 years we remain angry. And only after 40 years we find out, okay, but that is the reason why he did it. That is perhaps the reason why he said that. Why did Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam say, make 70 excuses for your Muslim brother? I need to end off. There's so much that I want to say, but I need to end off, insha'Allah ta'ala. Nabi Yusuf alayhi salam. Nabi Yusuf alayhi salam, his brother standing before him, they threw him in a well. As a child, they threw him at the bottom of a well. The very brothers that were supposed to protect him, the very brothers that promised. They promised and they took an oath by their father that they are going to protect him. Threw him at the bottom of the well. And with the result, what happened? He was taken and sold in Egypt. What did that cause? It caused him to be imprisoned for how long? Bid'a sinin. For a number. Wrongfully, he was wrongfully imprisoned. Bid'a sinin, for a number of years. And everything that happened to him up until that moment in his life was because of what his brothers did. So the day when they finally stood before Yusuf, Yusuf being the prime minister of Egypt at the time, Yusuf being able to do whatever he wanted, if he wanted to retaliate, if he wanted to revenge, he could do with him whatever he pleased. They were in need. They came to the prime minister in need of food, in need of water, in need of things to survive. So they're standing before him, and at that moment, he can say and do to them whatever he wants. Because everything that happened in his life was because of that moment when they threw him in the well. But after all that years, Yusuf alayhi salam looks at his brothers and he says to them, لا تثريب عليكم اليوم. لا تثريب عليكم اليوم. From my side, I forgive you. There is no blame on you after today. Whatever you have done against me, whatever you have done to me, I forgive you. And it did not stop there. We have this notion that, rather that's not the notion. What we do is, I cannot forgive you. I do not want to forgive you, and you can forget about Allah forgiving you. This is what we do and what we say. I can't forgive you, I don't want to forgive you, and you can forget about Allah forgiving you. Yet Nabi Yusuf alayhi salam, he says, from my side, I forgive you wholeheartedly. Whatever you have done to me, against me, I forgive you. يَغْفِرُ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ. And it adds on. And I will make dua that Allah forgives you as well. Ya Allah. الراحمون يرحمهم الرحمن. الراحمون يرحمهم الرحمن. ارحموا من في الأرض يرحمكم من في السماء. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who is most compassionate. Allah ta'ala is the one who is most compassionate, and He is most compassionate on those who shows compassion. Irhamu man fil ard. So be compassionate. Show forgiveness and mercy to those who are on this earth, on this earth. Then the one who is in the heavens, Allah Ta'ala, will be compassionate against you, or to you rather. Last but not least, we are about to enter a new year. We are ending of 2022, and we are about to welcome 2023. We speak about New Year's resolutions. Let this be our resolution. I forgive not because I'm weak, but because I'm strong enough to understand that others make mistakes. I forgive not because I am weak, but I'm strong enough and I'm matured enough to understand and to know that others also make mistakes. Let that be our resolution, insha'Allah ta'ala, for the year 2023. Life is so short, Jamaat Muslimin. Life is so short, there isn't enough time to love. Life is so short, there isn't enough time to love. How can we still find the time to hate? Love is so short. Life is so short, there isn't enough time to type out a message of love and caring and understanding, how can we still find the time to type out a message or a status of hate? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us understanding. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us to be of those who are merciful, because Allah is merciful. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.